What is up, my friends? Welcome to Flippin' Bats, where it is John Smoltz Day here on the show, where every single week the Hall of Famer from the Atlanta Braves joins us. This week we have a lot to talk about. Commissioner Manfred spoke about expansion, realignment over the weekend, and I'm going to ask John, one, his thoughts on expansion in general, and two, what he thinks about realignment and where the league should go. And his thoughts honestly shocked me. And they will 100% shock you too. It is out there. And for a guy that a lot of people out there in the world say about John Smoltz, he's an old school guy. He hates the new game of baseball. This answer could not be more opposite than what you think it's going to be. So I'm excited to hear y'all's thoughts on John Smoltz's thoughts on expansion in the game of baseball. I'm going to ask him how expansion works. He was in the league when the D-backs, the Rays, and the Rockies were involved in getting a new franchise in the league. So I'm going to ask him how that even works from the player side of things. What does that look like as well? The Phillies, Zack Wheeler is now injured. Not just injured, he had a blood clot in his arm and had to get that surgically removed. And obviously, this goes much further than baseball. Blood clot is a very scary thing. So I'm really hoping Zack Wheeler is going to be okay. He did undergo a successful surgery to remove it. I don't know what that means for him in the rest of this season. It is secondary to what is actually happening. But I'll talk to John Smoltz about that, about the blood clot, and what this means for the Philadelphia Phillies for the rest of the season. And then I'm going to ask him about Players Weekend and if he could have a bat in Players Weekend, what would it look like? So really fun conversation coming up with John Smoltz. Before we get into that, MLB expansion is coming, and I spoke about it early in the week and what I thought on it and how exciting I think it can be. So what I did between then and now is I put a lot of thought into this. I put together what I thought the league would look like with two new teams and realignment. And I put together divisions and what I think each division should look like and how we should go about it. And I am ready to give you my answer. I'm ready to put it out there. So I really put a lot of thought into this. And before I give you each division, this was the two things that I kept in mind were rivalries, like historic rivalries. I still want those to be historic rivalries, and not changing up the division or the leagues too much. So I kept those things in mind. I want to keep division rivalries in play, and I wanted to not change things up too crazy in terms of leagues. Obviously, there will have to be some shifting, and then geographical location comes into play as well. And this is what I landed on. Okay, we're going to start in the National League, and we're going to start in the National League East. I have 8 divisions, 4 teams in each division for a total of 32 teams. We're going to start in the National League with the National League East. That is going to be the Atlanta Braves, the Philadelphia Phillies, the New York Mets, and the Pittsburgh Pirates. The one addition there being the Pirates in the NL East. This will be the NL North, National League North, Brewers, the Chicago Cubs, the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Cincinnati Reds. The NL South will be the Tampa Rays, the Miami Marlins, the new Nashville franchise, and the new Charlotte franchise. The more I dove into this over the last few days, the more I think there's a place for a couple new teams in the South. I obviously mentioned there's only one, the Atlanta Braves. The 2 teams in Florida do not count as the South, but there is a lot of room for Major League Baseball in the South. And I think there's a good chance that both teams come in the South, and both will be in the NL South. So give me the Rays, the Marlins, the Nashville franchise, and the Charlotte franchise in the same division, the NL South. Lastly, in the National League, the NL West. This is going to be the San Diego Padres, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the San Francisco Giants, and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Padres, Dodgers, Giants, D-backs all remain in the same division. On to the American League side of things. The AL East, American League East, I am going with the New York Yankees, the Boston Red Sox, the Baltimore Orioles, and the Washington Nationals. That will make up the AL East. In the AL North, we are going with the Detroit Tigers, the Cleveland Guardians, the Chicago White Sox, and the Toronto Blue Jays in the AL North. The AL South will be the Texas Rangers, the Houston Astros, the Kansas City Royals, and the Minnesota Twins. The one thing there, the Twins are the opposite of South, but like it doesn't really matter. They're all in central region of the United States. Rangers, Astros, Royals, Twins. And lastly is the American League West, which will be the Seattle Mariners, the the Los Angeles Angels, the A's, currently Sacramento, but wherever they end up, Las Vegas, the Las Vegas A's, and the Colorado Rockies. So the Mariners, A's, Rockies, and Angels make up the AL West. So those are my 8 divisions, 4 teams in each. I like this. I really put some thought into keeping rivalries involved and keeping teams mostly in the same league and not too much change around the game of baseball while adding in 2 new teams. Keeping geographical location in place was all a big part of this. I'm going to put out a graphic online so we can all see this, and it's in a nice and neat, beautiful place. But this is my thoughts on what realignment could look like. I think this is a really exciting opportunity for the game of baseball, and I am excited for you all to hear what John Smoltz thinks about this opportunity around the game of baseball itself. Remember, Flippin' Bats is presented by FanDuel. Bet baseball with us all season long on America's #1 sports book. This is a fun one with John Smoltz. His idea is going to shock you guys about expansion and realignment and what that looks like and if he wants it. And we're about to talk about it right now. So without further ado, let's bring him in now, John Smoltz. All right, I am pumped to welcome in now the Hall of Famer John Smoltz, as we do every single week here on the show. John, how are we doing this week?
Doing great. I'm getting a treat of a lifetime. I'm at Hendrick Sports, speaking here in about a couple hours, getting a tour of the facility. I am blown away by all the behind the scenes action of getting ready. If you think baseball and information and analytics and all the things are important to compete, it pales in comparison to NASCAR and racing.
Oh.
This is really going to be one of the most awesome things I'm part of.
That's really cool. So when you speak at something like this, what do you have a game plan going in? Do you know what you're going to speak about, or do you just wing it?
No, it's a theme about preparing an all-star culture, and really they're getting ready for the playoffs. So their
Okay.
season's about to really kick in, and it really fits with my career and getting ready for the playoffs and how to create an all-star culture. And there's so many components of a team that goes into one race,
Yeah.
and they race over 500 races on the year. So can imagine the mountain of property and cars and technicians, and I mean, you name it. I just watched the pit crew practice. That I could stand there all day and watch. They're trying to
That's
get
cool.
under a certain time. They're whipping a car in. They've got all the angles. So it's like every other sport. And we're all trying to figure out in our sport how to get better at something.
Yeah.
And the technology is through the roof.
That's so cool. So John, as I told you last week, I was going to the Little League Classic in Williamsport, was there. Really, really special event. But one thing that came up there was Commissioner Manfred on TV talking about expansion and how expansion is coming and what that looks like and potential realignment and all of that. But my first question to you is just, are you in favor of expansion? When you hear expansions coming to Major League Baseball, what do you think?
I hope it happens with the caveat of changing a few things for it to happen. In other words, 32, we do need a balanced 32. It's either,
Mhm.
you either got to go 28 or 32. And I don't think receding, getting rid of 2 teams is an option. So getting 2 teams with the talent pool, but with that comes the opportunity to realign and change everything. Like if you're going to add 2 teams, go full bore, go all in, make all the changes you want, realign and get the playoff structure different. And I've been a fan, and I know for a long time when we want to fix things in our sports, right? We're trying to figure out how to get competitive balance. We got a labor situation coming up.
Hmm.
To me, the perfect scenario of 32 teams is you get four 8-team divisions. And again, I'm going down this bucket of what I feel like would work with all
Hmm.
the things that we can't fix economically. If you have a first half, second half schedule, and you have a first half winner and a second half winner, and then a wild card that combines that didn't win either half, you now have a competitive 80, let's just say 70. You'd have to shorten the season a little bit, but you have two playoff races. You have July, which is not boring now, and everyone's trying to get to the All-Star game. You have a race to the playoffs in the first half. If you secure that spot, you're in the playoffs at the end of the year. And then people go, well, what's the incentive of winning the second half? And then you get a bye. Because if you don't win the second half winner plays the first half winner to
Yeah.
right to go on. Well, what happens if you have the overall best record and didn't win first half or second half, which happened to the Cincinnati Reds during the 84 season? That's where the wild card team comes in. And for me, in following baseball as long as I have, I know traditionally this would, we're untraditional now. It doesn't matter. We've
Yeah.
changed things so much that it doesn't matter. And every sport's done it. To me, this gives a franchise no more of an excuse to quit on the year or to try to lose to build up their farms. This
Yeah.
gives a fan base an accountability to say, hey, I know, perfect example, Atlanta Braves got everybody hurt in the first half. Well, in the second half, if they started from scratch, don't you
Yeah.
think they would approach it a little bit differently? And then your juggernauts, your teams that have to go out and are expected to win, well, they should be in position to try to win both halves to get that bye. So I love the concept of two more teams, but I'm not just like add two and stay status quo.
Yeah.
I would say add two and let's go to realignment. Let's get the competitive balance for teams out there that have a horrible schedule that don't make sense. Go all in. So yes, that's a long-winded answer to tell you I am all for two more teams.
John, people love to say you're an old school guy, you play in the older days and you don't want to see any changes and get off my lawn. And this answer is the opposite of that. I love this.
Yeah, I've always been an advocate for how do you fix things in a competitive balance
Yeah.
when it might be out of balance. And look, the thing that I've watched over the course of time, it was different back then, and so you play differently. Now we
Yeah.
have the athletes that are so prepared to do this at a younger age where we didn't before. But we have to make sure that we're training them differently and preparing them differently because if you just add two more teams and you've already got the issues that you've got with the current 30 teams, and let's just say 25% of those teams are really in a tough place,
Mhm.
well, then you would just think you're diluting it even more. You have to fix some things and put them in place to add those two teams so you're not diluting two more franchises to where they start in such a hole that, it takes them a long time to get out of it.
If and when the league decides to expand, what two cities come to mind for you? If top of mind,
Well,
what cities?
I'm actually, again, because the owners have some jurisdiction over certain places that they don't
Yes.
want that competition. I mean, I'm in Charlotte right now, so
Yes.
Charlotte's a great city. Obviously, Nashville has been talked about. You got the return maybe to Montreal. You go out west. I've heard Portland. I've heard all kinds of different
Yep.
scenarios that could make sense. And I hope this is a legitimate, like if we can get past 2027 and all that work out all those issues, I think baseball would be in such a great place
Yep.
having to embrace this because it's not going to get worse. The talent's only going to get better. But if we learn and create a system that doesn't allow them to just constantly run through those stop signs we've talked about on the injury standpoint, then baseball in its purest form will have that longevity back. Because, when I played, longevity was king,
Yeah.
and now it's not. Now it's about, interjecting as many players as possible to get through the year.
You were in the league when the league last expanded, when the Diamondbacks came into play, and when the Tampa Rays became an organization. The Devil Rays at the time became an organization and a franchise in Major League Baseball. How does it work? There's an expansion draft, correct?
Yeah. So the Rockies were part of that too in
Okay.
1995, 94 or 93, whenever they started. But I think you could only secure so many spots on your team.
Okay.
And then those clubs have the right to go and draft the remaining unrestricted players from your team and roster, and that's how they built their franchise. So you could only, and then each time you could only take back. It's like in systems. So you had to make a decision. You knew you were going to lose at least two players from
Yeah,
your roster. And I think that was kind of the way they did it then. I don't know if they have any more creative ways to do it now, but it really gave guys an opportunity to, impact their careers in a positive way that they may not have had with the current club,
yeah,
being who they were behind. I don't know how it worked in the minor leagues, but you had basically out of your 40-man roster, you had the ability to protect so many. Then once they drafted, I think you could add a few more. So I think it would be exciting to see this
for
happen.
sure.
And if they can get the right cities and the cities behind it, it would really take us to a perfect number, if you will, and the four divisions of eight would be outstanding.
It's interesting, right? In 95, you were in the thick of it, right? You were on a good team, you were on a Hall of Fame path. So obviously, you were one of those that was going to stay and get protected. But you get the interesting ends of it where if you have to protect certain guys, you have to pick and choose the young guys and maybe leave the older veteran unprotected as well because they're getting close to retirement. So it's interesting how a new team could pick up a slew of, yeah, maybe you can grab a young guy that's not protected, but also like older veterans are certainly available as well.
Yeah, if my memory serves me correctly, I mean, basically, guys under contract. I don't know how that works, but
Mhm.
if you looked at it, and the expansion teams are not going to. Hockey did it differently, and that's why hockey that you saw the Las Vegas Knights
Yeah.
be able to be really good right away. They had a different system. I don't pretend to know what that
Okay.
was, but they could win an expansion baseball team would have a hard time getting to the World Series that quickly. So the Rockies did a great job in the time frame that they had and built an incredible, scary team. But with baseball, and again, young players so ready to play at an early age, maybe not perfectly ready, but they know they can make an impact.
Hmm.
I think the game would not suffer that much under the current athlete and what he's really kind of prepared to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with you. John, I want to talk about the Phillies real quick and Zack Wheeler. Zack Wheeler unfortunately underwent surgery the other day to remove a blood clot. Kind of came out of nowhere that we all heard he had a blood clot in his arm and then had to get surgery. How much do you know about blood clots and being a pitcher with a blood clot?
Uh, I don't know enough to
Yeah.
be a doctor, but I know enough that they're not good. And to
Yeah.
be able to get it, that's relief for Zack Wheeler. You don't know if it has something to do with the impingement of a rib and the underbelly of your shoulder and
Yeah.
then all the things that go on. It just goes to show you how difficult it is, to throw a baseball at the level that these
Yeah.
guys are throwing a baseball. I think that getting it and being able to diagnose that's incredible because it can lead to so many other things. I feel like I've gone through just about everything in my career. Blood clot is not one of those
Okay.
that I've experienced, thankfully, and hopefully he's going to be just fine. But I've torn my subscap. I've had bruising and swelling and all the things that come along with just throwing a baseball is not natural. And the fact that they got that is pretty incredible, and they can get it out and not have any further issues would be great for him and the Phillies.
Absolutely. And this goes without being said, but obviously this goes further than baseball, and you just
Yeah.
hope he's okay and going to be okay. But when it comes to baseball, when it comes to the Phillies, a team that has World Series aspirations, and look, I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor. We don't know. I don't know if he's going to pitch again this year. I think there's a good chance that he does not. Where do you put the Phillies' chances without the potential of Zack Wheeler in the rotation? Still a really good team.
Yeah. That changes everything. I
Yeah,
mean, you never want to pin so much on one player, especially a pitcher that pitches once every 5 days. But he's the headliner.
yeah,
He's the horse, and they've got a great collection of arms that are going to be more than competitive. They really need Aaron Nola to step it up and get back into form, which I hope for him he can do that. It's been a rough year for him,
yeah,
and he's such a quality pitcher. But man, when you do something like that to a ball club, the natural notion is we all got to step up. Well, that you can intuitively, you're going to, but what it does is gives the other team a huge advantage to think that guy's not starting game one. He is the prototypical perfect pitcher for
Yep.
this generation to combine everything that you would want in a pitcher and the ability to go deep into a game and turn your bullpen over to a short one. So, Zach's been through this before as far as missing time and having Tommy John. And,
Yep.
like you said, it's bigger than that. Hopefully he's able to not, maybe he can come back. That would be incredible, but hopefully he's able to fully recover from this. But your question significantly changes the moxie around the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, if I'm in that locker room, we're going to say we're not going to miss a beat because we have a
Yep.
collection of guys and that's just what you do. You don't even talk about it. You don't even have a meeting. There's never been a time that I can remember when a guy goes down that you go, all right, guys, here's what we got to do. Everybody kind of knows what they got to do, and it's up to that clubhouse to kind of pull together.
Last one for you this week, John. We just saw Players Weekend come to an end around Major League Baseball. If you were still playing in the game today and were a part of Players Weekend and you were still getting to hit as a pitcher, what would John Smoltz's bats look like during Players Weekend?
I'm going to be honest. I was kind of drawn to some of these bats. I was blown away the aesthetics and
Okay.
I mean, some obviously a little bit more or a little bit much, but that's a great question. My first thought would be I would try to make it a golf theme somehow. I make
Okay, I like
Augusta, maybe
that.
look like Augusta. I don't know how these graphics do it, but
That's not
I
up
would
to
have,
us, John. You could just
yeah,
ask and get it done.
yeah, I would either have like golf clubs, golf balls, even basketballs. Like I'd have sports themed bat that maybe had nothing to do with baseball. So they were really, really cool. A couple of them, I just felt like I even said on the broadcast, I did the Tigers and Minnesota Twins, and one looked like, you know how like certain colors of cars draw the police car to your speed, like it,
Yep.
it gives an illusion. I felt like this bat was a disadvantage for check swings because of the popping color that he
Good
had.
point.
I felt like that was going to be a disadvantage for the umpire and what he was seeing. So you got to be careful that you're not drawing a negative reaction
Good
to what
point.
is already a hard thing to do, and that's decide whether a guy check swings or not.
Of any of them that you saw over the weekend, whether from that game or something else you saw, did you see a favorite of yours?
Um, I'm trying to think of the one that was with Minnesota. I thought that Minnesota had a guy that I thought the Tiger Stripes it actually popped. It didn't seem like it was going to be much. It just had stripe like black stripe. I'm thinking it was a Tiger Stripe. I'm not sure
Uh-huh.
what was behind it, but yeah, there were so many. I don't know if I can remember exactly the way it felt. But the aesthetics of seeing a bat totally different than you would normally see was actually really cool. I really was. I felt myself looking. I don't know how I would feel if I was a pitcher seeing that. I'd probably be like, "This is mesmerizing me. I don't like it."
I would love to see you coming up to the plate with like a driver as a baseball bat or like the 12th hole at Augusta or something. It'd be incredible.
It would be. I see. I'm not that old guy on your lawn that everybody wants to tease. I actually can have a lot of fun with the nuances and the. Now, I think sometimes we get a little crazy with our uniforms and the selections of the days, but other than that, I think that that I'm even though I played the accordion, I have a little bit of style. Well, maybe not much, but a little.
And you want a first half and a second half and realignment with
Absolutely.
expansion. You're not the old guy that's saying, get off
No,
my lawn, John. I
let's
really
go
appreciate
for
it.
it. You
This was
got
a
it.
lot of fun, my friend. We'll do it again next week.
All right, you got it.
All right, just wanted to thank John Smoltz for joining us here on the show, as he does literally every single week. And I don't know about you guys, I am shocked by his expansion answer. It is out there, and I like it. I do. I don't know if I want it involved, but I really, if I want it to be the official thing that happens, but I do like it. It does keep baseball interesting all year long. Look, it's not for me. It's not for probably the majority of you listening or watching. Baseball is interesting to me all year long, literally every day. But the casual fan, sure, I totally get it. And I think his idea is really, really fun. And if you're going to go for it with expansion and realignment, really go for it. So I would love to hear y'all's thoughts if you are watching on our YouTube channel. I love to hop in the comments every single show and talk to you guys and have a conversation sort of after the show ends. So let me know your thoughts on what John Smoltz thinks on my divisions and what the new realignment should look like. But a really fun thing to think through. So if you're watching on YouTube, please leave a comment with your thoughts on it, and I will certainly respond and get back to you guys and have a discussion about it. And if you're just watching, go check out our YouTube channel. Watch this, comment, really enjoy that. So make sure you guys are subscribed wherever you watch or listen. If you're listening, Apple, Spotify, wherever, subscribe there. Our YouTube channel, Flippin' Bats Pod, subscribe there, and make sure you leave a comment and like it. That all does really, really help. Fun show for sure. Expansion is coming to Major League Baseball. It's just a matter of what that looks like and what realignment looks like and all that stuff. But it's exciting times in the game of baseball. Baseball is skyrocketing. Things are looking great. The new media rights deals are getting close to being announced. When that does get announced, I will certainly explain all of that and what it means. But it's exciting times in the game of baseball and this Flippin' Bats community. 2025, the year of Flippin' Bats. Told you guys this is really exciting times, and I really love and appreciate this community more than I could ever explain. You guys are the best. Again, make sure you're subscribing everywhere you possibly can. That means a ton. And enjoy the weekend of baseball. I am heading down to San Diego to experience Dodgers Padres at Petco Park. Elizabeth and I, my fiance, are heading down there, and we're going to take in the Saturday game down there and have a little weekend in San Diego as well. So when I get back, I'll explain how I'll talk all about how my experience was at Petco. Enjoy the weekend of baseball, and I will be back Monday with another episode of Flippin' Bats. Until then, my friends, remember, find your bat and flip it. Peace.